Yeah, well, so what happened with your daughter?
Well, like I said, long story short, man, I took her to the hospital. They told me she had a mass in her head, and then they immediately tried to run with your daughter got cancer. We got to start chemo right away. And then I was like, hold up, how do you know it's cancer? Where's the biopsy and all that, the proof? And they was like,
yeah, I was gonna say, what was the biopsy? Was it malignant? Was it benign?
Yeah, they made up their own little protocol. Well, we don't have to do all that. We know it's cancer because such and such. I said, well, that don't work with me,
Yeah.
And then, of course, we need to call Child Protective Services because you're not being obedient.
Excuse me, Eric. Let me bust in right quick. Karl, Eric is right. I did talk to him. I think I talked to him last week. Was that last week, Eric?
Yeah, we talked. Yeah.
And Karl, he's been on the news down here, and they had him on the news on Channel 11 and Fox News, and his story is definitely very interesting. And so, Eric, I'm sorry I had to jump in like that, but you're right. I do remember talking to you now. So go ahead. I'm glad you caught up with Karl, and go ahead and finish telling your story.
Yeah, like I said, I went back and forth. I went to 3 different hospitals when they first called Child Protective Services in. They kicked me and my wife out. My daughter was 13 at the time. And
yeah, wait a second. When you went to the hospital, what hospital did you go to?
I took her to the emergency room at Methodist Sugarland, and then after they took the scan, they transferred us to Texas Children.
Okay. So I presume Texas Children is a state hospital?
Yeah, state hospital.
Okay, it's not private. Okay, it's state. Okay.
And so they, I had a bunch of screw-ups because my daughter had like 3 brain surgeries in the first week because every time they do something to the head, they screw up something. And I got to complaining, calling the head of the hospital.
Okay, I got an easy question for you, too. You said, okay, so a state hospital was providing the services. Who was providing the funding?
I'm a veteran. I got insurance, and I think that's what they like too. They was running it from my veterans insurance.
Through your what insurance?
I'm a disabled vet, so I got the insurance through the Veterans Administration.
Okay, yeah, because like I said, that's important too, man. Who's putting up the money, and who's providing the service is a big. It's very important. So you got to find out exactly who's putting up the funding.
Yeah, I even complained to the hospital. My insurance.
Yeah.
I said, these people are doing stuff, and they don't even have a valid diagnosis. They were like, well, we don't care. If they put in the claim, we pay it. I'm like, wow.
That's great. Okay. So like I said, okay, that's fine. They're putting in the claim, they're paying it, that's fine. It's like professional courtesy, they're recognizing that these people, they're not making a claim that anybody's done anything wrong. But what's funny is you didn't tell your insurance company, well, if they misdiagnosed this and they're doing all of these treatments and my daughter actually gets home from it, since you're the one putting up the money, I'm going to have to come after you as well for, if you didn't put up the funding, they wouldn't be able to, you're just as much involved with this because you're putting up the funding as the people who are providing the service.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? If nobody's paying for it, they just basically say, okay, well, who's going to pay for this kid?
Right.
If nobody's going to pay for this kid, how much do they really want? If nobody's going to pay for this kid, how much do they really want to? How much money they really want to dump into the kid doing chemo?
Well, that's what they did. Once they brought, like I said, they brought in Child Protective Services. Then the first hospital forced us to go to the next hospital, which was across the street, which is MD Anderson.
Yeah.
And then they called the next hospital and told them, hey, we sending these people over there. Y'all keep the same protocol, blah, 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 blah. And they did. And I was supposed to be going over there brand new with a fresh start, but that's not what happened. Right. And then Child Protection Services came over there the first day, started the same stuff all over again. And this time, they took me to court. And they made up a lie that my daughter had such and such wrong with her. When I went to court, the results came back that she didn't have it. They said, we don't care. We're going to give custody over to CPS anyway, and y'all start treatment. And that's how they proceeded.
Okay. And like I said, obviously, you never really listened to any of my shows because you just
not before that. Yeah, that was 2012.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You never just asked them a simple question, like whose property are we talking about? That's all you basically have to ask. Whose property are we talking about?
Right.
somebody owns that little bundle of joy. Somebody produced it. Somebody labored over it. Somebody created that. Who's the creator of that little bundle of joy? Who's got an interest in this child? Who's got an interest in that little bundle of joy there? Who's got an interest in it?
Yeah, no, I get it. I get you now, without a doubt. I mean,
like I said, say you found a piece of wood, floating out in the ocean. You bring it back home and you whittle a chair out of it. And the government says, I want to tax you 50% of that chair. And you say to them, what interest do you have in it? Like, what did you? Interest means like, what did you put into that? Show me what you put into it, where you feel that you're entitled to something out.
Yeah.
Then the government says that we're entitled to take out 33%. So you got a three-legged chair you made. They're allowed to take one of the legs. If they take one of the legs, it'll destroy the value completely of the chair. The chair, instead of being worth $500, will be worth about 5 cents in scrap wood. You can't take my property from me. You can't alter, change it, modify, or amend it. If you do, you will destroy it. So you better have a hell of an interest in my property. There better be something that you put in there. And like I said, one of the most evil speeches, Barack Obama said, the best speech I ever heard was like, he said, the greatest gift our forefathers gave us was the right to self-governance. That was the greatest speech I ever heard any president say. The best sentence I ever heard. And I also heard him say the worst thing I ever said. He says that the United States government wants to have an interest in your child. That was the most evil thing I ever heard anybody say. Because if the government has an interest in your child, that means they had an input. They put something in. He didn't say we want to have concern for your child. He used a technical, legal, lawful, like financial, commercial term, interest. Interest doesn't mean we have concern for your child. It's nice if the United States government wants to have concern for my child, or they want to care, have a care for my child. They want to have an interest in my child. He knew exactly what he was saying. So if I come to court and you got a chair and you whittled a chair, and you bought a knife from me for $100, and you didn't pay me for that knife, then I'll say the reason why you created that chair is because you used my knife. It's like, no, I bought it from you. No, you still owe me $100 for that knife. So I have a vested interest in that chair. Without my knife, you would have never made that chair. So how much is that chair worth? $500. You know what? You're gonna have to sell that chair and give me $100. And you keep the other $400. But you're gonna give me that $100 you owe me, because I have an interest in that, and I could force you to sell it because I have an interest in it. I could have a court order, and the jury will say, yes, you know what? Without your $100 worth of knife, that man would have never been able to make a $500 chair. So I actually have an interest in your chair. So like I said, if you ever hear Barack Obama say, you didn't make that, that's what he's trying to tell you. He's trying to say, well, you couldn't have had that baby on your own, because you didn't make that baby on your own, because you had to go to a grocery store while the wife was pregnant, and you had to get in a car, and you had to go down an interstate, and you had to use green money, and you didn't do any of that on your own. We all have an interest in that child, because we built the highways, we built the grocery stores. The government helped, promote the economy. The government created the green dollars that fed your wife, helped your wife. So you didn't build that. That's what he's basically saying. You didn't create that. You didn't build that. We have an interest in everything. The United States government, as far as he's concerned, and a lot of people, half the people in the United States believe that they have an interest in every single person's business that exists here, from coast to coast. They're like, look, we helped build oil refineries. The United States government, gave them tax breaks or incentives. The people of the United States, they all, through that taxpayer money, built the highway system, built the electrical grids. Like one car company, did not build the highways to get to their factories. They did not build the electrical plants. It's U.S. citizens that all put their tax money together that helped build this country. So that's why they're trying to claim that they have an interest. They have a reason to put their fingers in everybody's pie. But they got a reason to have, they have a voice in what you can or cannot do with your child. They're trying to say, you did not create that. Like, wait a second, that's ridiculous. You're telling me the bumblebees who created the other bumblebees from coast to coast, you're telling me the United States government helps them. You're telling me the field mouse or the owl or squirrels, they couldn't breed without the United States government's aid and assistance? Are you telling me if the United States government closes up shop tomorrow, man and woman no longer will be able to breed and we won't be able to have children on our own because the United States government isn't around anymore? It's like, no, I think we'd do just fine. If we lived out in the woods, I think we'd figure it out. But like I said, they're just trying to justify why they can put their fingers into everybody's business. So yeah, like I said, the biggest thing is you guys got to understand that she's your property, that she's exclusive to you to use and enjoy, that nobody else within the society has any claim or vested interest in it. I couldn't come down and claim it. She's yours. But what's funny is, like I said to the man in Canada who has a zoo, when I was over there in England, I found out that the government of Denmark or Holland or Belgium, one of those countries over there, killed a newborn baby giraffe because they agreed to only have, like, say, 20 giraffes in captivity in Europe. And this was giraffe number 21. And they agreed, and based on some treaty, that if there's more than 20, they would have to destroy it. So this giraffe, it takes like, it's like an elephant. It takes like two years from the time they get pregnant until this giraffe pops out. And when the giraffe popped out, they euthanized it. They killed it. And I said, damn. I said, why didn't you tell me that trial was going on in Belgium? I said, I was over here in England. I would have went over to Belgium and I would have made a claim for the giraffe. And he's like, how would have you made a claim for the giraffe? I said, because a fictional entity called a government thought it had the capacity of life and death. It thought it had the capacity, whether it's going to treat this giraffe or not treat this giraffe, or give it chemo or not give it chemo, or kill it. A government actually thought it had the capacity to do something to a living, breathing creature. I could go into Belgium and I could say, I am a man. I am a living, breathing creature. What you're trying to destroy is another living, breathing creature. I have more in common with that giraffe than I do with any fictional two-dimensional government. I'm three-dimensional, living, breathing entity, so is that giraffe. It is my duty and obligation to help protect another, three-dimensional, living, breathing creature. It's just like I say to people, if a Martian landed on planet Earth, and the United States government was trying to control it or destroy it or whatever, and another Martian heard about it in Mars, and it said, you know what, we better get our ass down to Earth because it's going to kill one of our fellow creatures. It's going to kill a Martian. Now, this Martian that landed on planet Earth might be green, and the other Martian that might be coming down might be purple. But that other purple Martian will still tell, hey, you know what, that's one of ours. That's from where I come from. You back off and you let me take it back home. You have no jurisdiction or control over it. It has more in common with me than it does with you. And if they were a good judicial system, they'd say, you're absolutely right. That came from Mars. We've seen you came from Mars, even though you really don't look like this green guy over here. You're kind of purple and look a little different. You know what? You're absolutely right. It's from where you hail from. It's from the ground, the soil, the land, where you come from. You're right. You have more in common with it than we do. So you know what? Go ahead and take it back. And that's what I'm trying to say to people. You're arguing with a government. You're arguing with government entities. They're not living, breathing flesh. It's a social services. It's not a man or a woman. You're dealing with fictional. You're dealing with titles. You're not dealing with, when you see the person on the other side, a CPS worker, whatever. You see a CPS worker. You don't see Susie and Bob and Joe. This Susie, Bob, and Joe will stand up in court and say, yes, I'm a CPS worker. I don't give a shit what you are. You could be a toaster, you could be a tree, you could be a rock. You're just a title, CPS worker. It doesn't mean anything to me. What does CPS worker mean? I don't know. Is that a name of a new brand of cereal? I don't know. Is a CPS worker, is that a type of tree? How the fuck do I know? Just because it's a CPS worker. It was like a worker bee. It's like some sort of, bumblebee, kind of CPS worker, or you build CPSs. I don't know. What the hell's in a CPS? Look, as a matter of fact, I don't care what a CPS is. All I want to know is, are you a woman, and are you trying to take my property from me? That's all I want to know. Well, no, I'm not trying to take your property from you. Okay, then what are you doing standing up? What are you talking about? Well, I'm a CPS worker. No. I asked you, are you a woman and you're trying to steal another woman, another man's property? Well, no, I got a job. Yeah, that's right, you got a job. The only problem is, does that job require you to steal another man's property? Just because you have a job to kill somebody, like Hitler's soldiers, they had a job. Yeah, Hitler told them go round up every Jewish woman and child and baby and put a bullet in their head and kill them. Yeah, just because they said, well, I was just doing my job. What happened after World War II? They rounded up all those German soldiers and put a bullet in their head. Just because you're doing your job doesn't mean you're not going to be held liable for stealing and killing. And you tell a CPS worker, and have the judge explain it to you. Have that man in that black robe explain to you right there that I'm telling you the truth. Just because you're stealing and murdering and because it's your job doesn't negate the fact that they can still hold you liable for damages. And that's exactly what happened up in Canada. When that husband and wife got their kid back, they had 20 affidavits from 4 kids were taken. 20 affidavits. Each kid had their own social worker. They had their own nutritionist. They had their own psychologist. They had their own foster care provider. They had their own clinical psychiatrist. They had the police officers that came into the home. 20 affidavits were in that case file. When that lady reported there was a robbery, they came back the next morning. They said, the Crown prosecutor said, all 20 affidavits were removed from the case file last night because you reported a robbery. And they're all in collusion with the robbery after the fact. When you reported the robbery, they all drew their affidavits. It's that simple. The judge heard there was robbery. As soon as the judge heard it was a robbery, he said, call me in recess. He said, yeah, while you guys were waiting out in the lobby, we explained to those 20 people that testified against you and your husband for, removing your child permanently, removing your children from you. Yeah, well, he explained to everybody. This is accessory after the fact. This lady just reported a robbery. I'm a judge. I'm a mandated reporter. I got a report that somebody just screamed out in court. He murdered that woman. She testified. I saw him kill her. I got a report what this woman just testified to. So everybody had to withdraw their affidavits because the judge said, hey, this lady was robbed. She pointed across the courtroom and said, that CPS worker took my baby out of my arms. That's a robbery. Just like somebody said, Hitler's soldiers put a bullet in that little girl's brain. Well, go study the Nuremberg trials. Yeah, somebody stood up and said, yeah, I saw that German soldier right there. Put 3 bullets in 3 babies' heads. Hang them. And he got hanged. They said, wait, I was just following orders. I was just doing my job. Yeah, I don't give a damn what you're doing, dude. It's a robbery. It's a murder. I don't give a damn what you're doing. You're going to jail. Or we're going to kill you anyway. It don't matter. Telling us up and down, left and right, you're just doing your job. We don't give a damn. You're still a man. Like I say to people, there's 168 hours in a week. The CPS worker is a part-time CPS worker. She only does 40 hours a week. 168 hours a week, she's a woman. 168 hours a week, he's a man. He is a full-time man, 24/7, 365, and he has a duty and obligation to cause no harm, injury, or loss to his fellow man, regardless what he gets paid, whoever pays him a paycheck. It doesn't matter what his title is. It could be mobster. It could be gunslinger. It could be CPS worker. It could be cop. It still doesn't give him the ability to shoot somebody and kill him. It still doesn't give the person the ability to rob somebody or steal that child. Just goes, oh, I'm a mobster, that's what I do. I'm a gunslinger, that's what I do. Oh, I'm a cop, that's what I do. I'm a CPS worker, that's what I do. I don't give a damn what your title is. You still have a duty and obligation to your fellow man not to cause any harm, injury, or loss. Bottom line. It's that simple. And all the courts understand this. You guys got to understand this. The courts understand this. It's just you guys don't understand it. You don't know how to walk in the courtroom and just say that simple 1 line, 2 lines. I was robbed. I require the man or woman who's got my property to give it back immediately. And anybody who knows where that property lies and is not coming forth and disclosing where that property lies, they're accessory up to the robbery or the theft after the fact, and I'm going to hold them personally liable as well. It's that simple. And the judges all know this. What happened if they took your car? You'd have no problem walking to court. Hey, that clown over there or somebody over there took my car. One of those clowns know where my car is. And I'm sure you know, like any kind of Texas law like that, you kill somebody in the commission of a felony, and I don't care if you were sitting out in the back seat of the car sleeping. I don't care if you're back in the pickup truck sleeping. You're going to get the death penalty as well as that guy who walked into that bank and shot that guy. It's like, oh, I was sleeping in the back seat. I don't give a shit. You're going to die too. You're an accessory after the fact or accessory during the fact. You're an accessory. So it's like, well, I was just sleeping in the back seat. Yeah, and when you woke up and they told you they killed this guy, what did you do? Did you run to the police and help the police get the killers? No. I just kept my mouth shut. Well, then you're an accessory after the fact. I think you guys could write a hell of a notice to the court. I've got tons of those online, you know, and Jesse's got one. So if I didn't send it to Larry, I'm sure I did. If I didn't, I'll just send it again. But you know, it's pretty simple. I mean, you make a nice little simple notice, like a two sentence like notice, and you make maybe a 3-sentence claim. I mean, Jesse's thing was 5 sentences long, the notice and the claim. You know, simple notice, you know, that this is, you know, does anybody know where this property is, and we want it back immediately. And whoever, you know, if you're failing to return and store the property, I'm going to hold you liable.
But they did. They kept her in the hospital for like 6 months, abusing her. They never took her away from us. They just abused her in the hospital. And what happened eventually, I filed a writ of mandamus over the judge, and he threw the whole case out once I filed over his head. That's how I got it thrown out. But they abused my daughter, gave her chemo and all that, and, you know, went to 11 brain surgeries. And so I'm trying to go back and get these jokers for all the damage they did.
Oh, but where's your daughter now?
Where is she, you said?
Yeah.
She's with me. She's with me.
Oh, then what do you want to do? You want to sue them for giving chemo or something?
Yeah, for the chemo, for the damages, for the kidnapping, for the abuse.
Okay, but like I said, did they ever do a biopsy?
Yeah, that's how I found out. They did 2 biopsies on her, but they never told us. I had to dig through the research and find it myself. And the biopsy showed she never had cancer. They knew that and hid it from me.
Yeah, but was the biopsy, did it come back that was benign, or was it malignant?
Yeah, it came back benign.
Holy shit. That's funny as shit.
Yeah, they sick.
Wow, so they were just running up the bill.
Yeah, they was making money. They make buku money off of chemo.
Oh, fuck yeah. And especially if the cancer was benign, they could have just gave her vitamin C injections because they knew it was benign. It wasn't going to do a damn thing anyway.
Yeah.
Just a whole shitload of chemo, just a whole bunch of sugar water they could have gave her. And then, you know what, after 6 months, a year of that, make $1 million, and then, you know what, go in there and cut it out. Or they could have just cut it out the first day.
Hey, the sad thing is when I got the very first surgery she went through, and he documented in his surgical report that he did remove it on the first surgery.
Wow.
But he never told her that. And then they kept playing with her. She went to 11 brain surgeries, and they gave her all that chemo because they were just making money.
Oh, yeah. Little piggy bank, yeah.
Yeah.
They give a fuck what happened to her.
Yeah, they don't have a conscience about it because they do it daily.
Yeah, they don't care, man. Like I said, it's what, and like I said, if you talk to a lawyer, even if he liked you, he basically say, look, sir, you know what? It's what we call in the industry is collateral damage. You know, sometimes, you know, good people get hurt, and you know what? You just have to live with it. I mean, that's actually what they'll try to convince you, that it's called collateral damage. You know, yeah. Sometimes, you know, good people get hurt. Sometimes bad doctors make, you know, bad mistakes. Sometimes evil people do what they do. That's what they try to tell me with my kid. You know, like, what? Like, just be happy you got your kid and go on. I was like, oh, F no, man. I want to make sure this never happens again.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've seen it several times since it happened to my daughter. They doing it every day all over the country.
Oh, yeah.
The kids. And people won't stand up. Man, I stood up and talked trash. My whole family turned against me. They all thought I was crazy until I got the records. And then once I got the documents, they were like, oh, you ain't lying, huh? I'm saying, man, people are blind. Ignorance is a powerful weapon for the devil.
Oh, yeah. So that's what was funny about with my case. And nobody believed me. I said, look, me and my wife weren't charged with doing anything wrong. They didn't come and take the child because of domestic violence or anything. I said they came in there and they said that there was a contract between the parents and the state that we didn't want to take a Downs child. And then we found out they were like making $1.7 million a year if the kid was a Category 5 Downs kid. And when he was born, he was only a Category 1. There was not really anything wrong with him. But when they asked the doctor, the lady in the hospital 6 months after he was born, hey, can you categorize this kid as a Class 5? And she said, no, he's a Class 1. You know, there's nothing really wrong with him. And the lady was a brand new doctor from Kentucky, and this was Alabama, was asking her to make it a Category 5. And, the mother of the kid was playing with the kid, but I was eavesdropping, listening to the social worker saying, but make it a Class 5. And the lady's like, why? It's like, well, if you make it a Class 1, we only get about $20,000-$30,000 a year. If you make it a Class 5, we'll get almost $2 million a year for taking care of this kid. And the lady's like, look, and she said, I just got my intern here. This is like one of my first, cases I've had, this little boy. And I'm just going to put down what I see. And what I see, I'm just going to report what I see. Nothing more, nothing less. And he's a Category 1. And the lady's like, look, we'll make a ton of money if you make it a Class 5. Like the money just comes from the federal government. It's not coming from Alabama. It's coming from the feds. We'll make a ton of money. And the lady's like, look, let me go talk to my supervisor and see if I should make it a Class 5 like you want me to. And she says, no, don't get the supervisors involved. No. She's like, look, fine. If you don't make this kid a Class 5, when he comes back for his physical in 6 months from now, he will be a Class 5, which means deaf, dumb, blind, and crippled.
Right.
So when I heard that, I still didn't think I was listening, but I got hellacious hearing, man. And I said to them when they gave the kid back to the hospital, the mom, walked out, and I said, we're going to go to state capitol meeting right now. She's like, why? I said, man, this lady just communicated a threat. They said they're going to actually do things to this child to make him a Category 5. And within 1 year, he was a Category 5. The next year, he was a Category 5. It was funny when my mom and sister didn't believe this shit. My sister's a school teacher. My mom worked for the federal government for almost 30 years as a IRS auditor. They thought I was crazy. So it was so funny when they finally let us see the kid 22 months after that, because it was funny. We went to the state capitol and we bitched. We said, man, this lady said this, they're going to cripple the kid, da-da-da-da-da. They said, not a problem, go back home to, Alabama, Birmingham, and we'll get in touch with you tomorrow. So they got in touch with us the next day. They said, we're going to have an emergency hearing trial tomorrow. I said, yes, God, thank God, we're going to get the kid back. No. What happened was the judge came out, and the judge ruled that you and the mother are to never see that child ever again. If we ever catch you near that kid, or we'll put you in jail for the rest of your life. We thought they were going to go after the social worker. No, they went after us for reporting her. Yeah. So what was funny is my mom and the sister was trying to get to see the kid. No, they wouldn't let my mom and sister raise holy hell. So 22 months went by, and they finally got to see the kid. And my mom's like, holy crap, like this kid is like tiny. Like when he went there for the 6-month physical, he was like 22 pounds. A year later, he was 22 pounds. A year after that, he was 22 pounds. So wow. He went from like being in the top 10% of being okay down to the 90% of being totally like dysfunctional. So funny, man, that they had the social workers there, and the foster care family was there, and I said to the mother of my kids, I said, go sit at the other, go sit away from my mom and my sister. And he's like, what? I said, I'm going to sit between my mom and my sister, because when they find out what these people have been doing to this kid, they're going to be a little upset. So like I said, it's funny, my mom and my sister, they when they go to meetings or hearings like that, they show up in like dresses, they don't wear pants or slacks. They dress like women. And it was funny that when the social worker started talking, my sister, she's like, well, what does this dietitian say? Why hasn't he gained any weight? And they said, well, we're not, like the social worker's funny. She had a southern accent. She was a white lady. She goes, well, I don't know about no dietitians like you all do up in New York, but down here in Alabama, we don't do dietitians. And my sister's like, well, it's a federally mandated, rule that you have to if you're obtaining federal funds. She's like, well, I don't know nothing about federal law, but I'm telling you what we do down here. And my mom just asked the social worker, what do you folks feed these kids? Feed this kid. And she was like, I don't know. The foster family's right here. Ask him. It's like, well, he eats cheese doodles and Diet Pepsi. And my mom's like, what? Cheese doodles and Diet Pepsi? He's like, yeah, that's all he eats. And my mom's like, that's ridiculous. What about milk? What about bread and meat? I said, oh, Mom, you don't know where they house this kid, do you? And I said, I do. And I was like, you're not supposed to know where we have this kid. You were ordered not to make any contact. I said, oh, yeah, I know where they house him. I said, Mom, there's like 6 Downs kids that live in a single-wide mobile home on a driveway. They got the big brick house. These foster parents live in a very big 2-story brick house. They got 6 foster kids, Downs kids, like under like 2, 3 years old. And there's like a 13, 14-year-old girl that babysits them like 24 hours a day out in a single line. So if these people saying the kid's eating cheese doodles and Diet Pepsi, oh yeah, that's what he's eating. And my sister's like, that's ridiculous. I said, you won't believe me. I said to my sister, Mom, you wouldn't freaking believe me that this is what they're doing to this kid. You don't get it. They have to make him deaf, dumb, blind, and crippled because they make more money. They don't care. As far as they're concerned, as a Downs kid, as far as they're concerned, he's a freak of nature. They don't care. He's not human as far as they're concerned. They don't care. He's got an extra chromosome. They don't care. All they know is this is a little piggy bank. They're making a fucking fortune off these kids. They don't give a damn. They're evil people, and when they die, God will fucking fix them. So it was so funny, man. My mom and sister's like, my mom's like, look, just wrap them up. We'll take them back to Virginia. There's a Jehovah's Witness church on the property. We'll take good care of them. Just wrap them up. We'll feed them. All my children have thrived. They've all gained weight. I'm sure I could feed this one. I'm sure he'll be fine. And they're like, well, it's not that easy. It's like, she's like, look, somebody's got to start feeding this kid. And she's like, well, look, we do feed him. And if all he wants to eat is cheese doodles and drink Diet Pepsi, what more do you want us to do? And my mom's like, you know what, you've got to feed him something else. And they were like, look, maybe you didn't understand. And she said to my mom, she said, maybe you didn't understand. He is retarded, stupid, boom. It was so funny how she was doing the Southern accent. And my mom and my sister, man, it was so funny. They jumped up and tried to jump across that conference table in their dresses. I grabbed my mom and I grabbed my sister by the thumbs because I used to bounce in the bars, and that's how you take people out by their thumbs. And you could usually walk somebody or, make them tap dance, if you grab their thumb and bend it backwards. So what was funny is I grabbed their thumbs, and I'm telling you, I took their thumbs back to their forearms, and my mom and my sister was still trying to climb over the table to go after that woman. And I told those women, you better get the hell out of this room because I can't hold these women back no more. So what was so funny is the women ran out of the room, and obviously the hearing was over. And I said to my mom, my sister, now do you really believe me? Now do you understand what they're doing to these children? Do you really believe me now? And then my mom and sister's like, you're right. We thought you were crazy, Carl. We thought it was all your fault. I said, Mom, so I understand what you're saying, that your family thought you were crazy. They wouldn't be doing this to a kid. They wouldn't be giving this kid chemo for no reason. They wouldn't be saying it's malignant when it's benign. They wouldn't be doing this. You're crazy. So what happens? It takes years to get all the damn evidence together and throw it out there. So it's so funny because I put the contract that they said for 30 hearings and trials. We finally got a copy of the contract, and it said the child was taken from the mom and dad because of domestic violence, and the child is to live at a grandma's apartment with a 40-year-old uncle. Yeah, but it was a 3-year-old girl. It had nothing to do with a brand-new down baby boy who was only 2 days old. They put somebody else's contract in the case file. So when you open up the contract and you read the contract, the first thing I guarantee Social Service did to anybody who looked at the contract, they said, look, the child was taken away from the parents due to domestic violence. The only problem was that was a contract for a 3-year-old girl who lived with a grandma and an uncle in an apartment, and the grandma and the uncle wanted to keep the girl there. What does that have to do with me and my wife and a newborn baby boy in a hospital? Nothing. So like I said, everybody just thought, oh, they showed us the contract, but it said that the parents signed the kid away. Oh, that's not your wife's name, is it? No, it's not her name. Oh, it's domestic violence, the husband and wife. What's the name of the mom and the dad? They didn't bother to mention it in that contract, did they? No. They didn't say Carl and Mary, does it? No. Well, what made you lead to believe that? They said, well, we didn't really read the contract. The social workers just showed us that there was a contract, and they said that the social services had to get involved because of reports of domestic violence. So what domestic violence? I said the kid was born and within 2 days they took him into state's custody. He never made it home with us. So what are you talking about, domestic violence? So they're like, oh, yeah, I guess the kid had to be at the house to be taken away first. Yeah, the kid had to be in our custody. The kid was never in our custody. The kid was always in the hospital's custody. He was only 2 days old when they took him. But, all right, so you just basically want to sue them?
Yeah, man. I actually had a lawsuit. I was actually suing them under the statutes and codes at one time, and then I had an attorney, but I live in Texas. Texas got a law where the maximum you can get is $250,000 for doctors doing stuff, and so no lawyer would touch it because it wasn't worth the time. Then I was gonna sue them on my own under the statutes and codes, but then they make you get medical experts and go through all kind of loops, and then they had a 2-year time limit, so my 2 years was up, went by. I still got all that rolled up, but I want to go back. You know, I'm going under the common system now.
Oh yeah, going under common law. Oh yeah, that's the way to go. Because the public cannot be bound by latches. It's funny. I actually got that, out of a dictionary. So you ran into like statutes and limitations, like latches. They call those things latches.
Yeah.
So, but what's funny is, in the common law, the public cannot be held back by a latch. It can't be, because we're not part of we don't have to abide by your legal rules. It's just like the easiest way to explain it is about the legal rules. What you don't have to be bound by it is, if all of a sudden, the Boy Scouts, I always tell people this all the time, what happened to the Boy Scouts of America take over the country for whatever reason? The Boy Scouts of America made all the rules. It's like, okay, well, it's like, like I say to people, trying to interpret the legal rules or court rules. It's not my court. I'm not a member of the legal society. I don't understand your legal procedures, your legal rules. That'd be like me arguing with a Boy Scout, or the Boy Scout leaders saying, look, I don't understand your Boy Scout rules. I don't understand Boy Scout procedure. And then they'd say, well, that's the rules, that's the laws. No, it's your rules. Those are your laws. Those are your procedures. I'm not a Boy Scout. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not of the legal society. Those are legal rules. Those are legal codes. Those are Boy Scout codes. Since they're Boy Scout codes, and then could you imagine me trying to write something in Boy Scout code to the Boy Scout Association? They'd laugh at me. Can you imagine me telling the Boy Scouts that they're doing something wrong according to their Boy Scout rules, according to the Boy Scout procedure? That's like you trying to tell them in their legal code that they're doing something wrong. That's like you saying the doctor did something wrong, and you're using their legal code to say that's what they did wrong. Oh, really? And you're a Boy Scout, and you're going to tell us what the Boy Scout code is. Oh, so you're a lawyer, and you're going to tell us what the legal fucking code is. Oh, really? You better just back off and say, you know what, I don't have an effing clue about Boy Scout codes, rules, regulations. I don't have a clue about legal codes, rules, regulations. All I know, Mr. Boy Scout, all I know, Mr. Attorney, all I know, Mr. Whoever, you cause harm, injury, and loss. That's all I give a damn. I don't give a damn what rules you're going under. I'm telling you, by the rules, the laws of nature, you hurt my property, you trespassed, you caused damage, and I want compensation. It's that simple. That's the way I roll.
Yeah.
So I hope you understand kind of what I do.
Carl, while you're on that subject, do you want to explain the best interest of the child?
What do you mean, the best interest policy of the child? What do you mean?
Oh, well, every time, they go to court, you got a husband and wife, they're going through a divorce, and they want to appoint a guardian and light them, and sometimes they want supervised visits because one's accusing the other of something, and they always do everything in the best interest of the child. It's a legal term.
Oh, yeah. I don't give a damn what's in the best interest of the child.
No, what do they mean by the best interest of the child? Do they mean they have an interest in the child?
Yeah, that's exactly what they're saying. Because and I know, I don't want to get too deep into financial or birth certificates or anything. And I know that if the kid grows up and has a college degree, the United States government could honestly go to the IMF and get more credit for the amount of people they have in this nation who have high school or college educations. But I don't want to get too deep into where they have an interest in the child. Of course they have an interest in the child. They have an interest in every single car, truck, automobile in this country, because all they do is put the country's net worth or gross worth into a perspective, and they give it to the IMF and say, like they said, when you went to Mexico when I was a kid, you cannot buy a car in Mexico and come back over the border because Mexico has to obtain credit and create, loans from other countries or the IMF that say, look, we got 1.6 million cars in this country. Just having those many cars alone makes this country worth this much money. If they only had 3 cars and 1.6 million donkeys, Obviously, their country's not worth that much. So they knew that the American people could go over to Mexico and give people $3 in American money, and that's like 10,000 pesos. So people are like, wow, I got 10,000 pesos, man. It's like, yeah, I'm going to give you $3. So they were realizing, people were selling, cars for $3 in U.S. money. So the Mexican government is like, oh, no. You can't sell a car to somebody from the United States. The same thing with Mexican land. You could lease Mexican land for 99 years, but you could never own it. Because the Mexican government used that land to obtain, loans. So yes, they're trying to say they're the best interest in the child, yes. Because a country or a nation as a whole have to claim those children, have to claim cars, have to make a claim for houses, claim how many companies or corporations they have. The government loves it when you people go out there and create corporations and LLCs, because they could use that to show the rest of the world, look, we just had 8,716 startup companies last year. Now, how long you last, that's another thing. But that's what I try to say to people. The IRS will definitely work with you if you have a corporation or an LLC, but I don't want to get into all that. Because then people will start saying, well, wait a second, Carl, you're saying LLCs it's going to be too confusing for people. You guys still can't get the basics, ABCs down. And then I start explaining why it's so important to be an LLC and work with the IRS. Right now, you guys don't even know how to deal with the IRS as a man. Almost everybody who listens to my show is in trouble with the IRS, whether it's ATO in Australia or the Internal Revenue, Inland Revenue Service of the UK, or CRA of Canada. Almost everybody has a problem with that. So I don't want to explain why it's such a wonderful thing to deal with them, because you'll think I'm talking about a man dealing with them. And I'm not talking about a man. I'm talking about if Paul as a person wanted to deal with them, it's a wonderful thing to work with. But I don't want to do that, because people say, well, people start saying, well, Carl, well, how should we work with them? It's like, oh, Jesus, Lord. Dude, you can't even work with them, man, as a man. I'm not even going to start going there how to, why don't you learn how to act and be with them as a man? And then we'll come back and ask me, okay, Carl, we got to figure out how to deal with the IRS man as a man and with the IRS now. How do we deal with the IRS as a person? We're like, okay, that's a lot of fun, too. Let's deal with that. You want to be Bill Gates? You want to be, Warren Buffett, who says my secretary pays more money to the IRS than I do, and I make $10 billion a year, and she makes $50,000? You want to know why Warren Buffett pays less than the secretary does? Yeah, we do that. Once you guys learn how to deal with the IRS and just write letters back and forth like a man dealing with the IRS. Until you understand your status as a man, why bother trying to go anywhere being a person? I think it's more important to teach people how to stand as a man than to stand as a person. I think it's very important to learn that first, how to stand as a man, than how to represent your person.